Technical difficulties, you just never know when they're going to pop up. But there we go. That was Boston's Final Raid. My special guest tonight is a member from that band. Mr. Bruce Owens will be here on Tunesday Tuesday. This is episode number 31 of Tunesday Tuesday. Let's do that like right about there. Man, I can't believe we've done 31 of these shows, 31 of these interviews already, but we're excited to chat with Bruce tonight. We have over an hour and a half of the greatest music for you guys tonight as well. A playlist that I put together each and every week here on the show. Appreciate everybody who's tuning in on Facebook and Twitch. I do want to let everybody know, really exciting news. This show has been approved and launched on Spotify. That's right. We are a official podcast now, Tunesday Tuesday on Spotify, and that means if we're on Spotify, we are everywhere. So iTunes, Apple, iHeartRadio, wherever you find your podcasts, Tunesday Tuesday will be there. If you're watching on YouTube or Spotify, thank you for watching and listening. We are live every Tuesday, though, if you'd like to join us on Twitch and Facebook. But without any further ado, guys, we're going to get into our conversation with Mr. Bruce Owens from my old neck of the woods, Malden, Massachusetts. This should be interesting. Let's get into it. Bruce, what's up, my friend?
Hey, how's it going, man?
Not too bad. How are you tonight?
I'm doing good. Loving life in Boston, Boston, Chris.
Yeah, are you in Malden still? Is that what I've read?
We've spread all over the place. So, the last guy, our singer, just moved out of Malden 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
So we're spread all over southern New Hampshire and Massachusetts now.
I love that, man. I miss it up there. I'm originally from Brockton, so I know you know where that's at.
Oh, I definitely know where that's at.
Yeah.
A lot of great bands down there.
Is there really?
Yeah. One of my favorite bands is from Brockton. Two brothers have a thrash band. They were called XXL.
Okay.
And both brothers must have weighed 300 pounds.
Wow.
One sang, one played guitar. They both incredibly talented. And then they had a second guitar player that weighed 100 pounds soaking wet. So to see him in between the two was amazing. But yeah, great band.
That's funny. So you're the guitar player of Boston's Final Raid?
Yeah, I primarily got guitar. I play little keys on the album. The next album, I'm going to do a little bit of mandolin.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I know when you're talking to a heavy metal band, you're like heavy mandolin, but yeah.
I have a really close friend who's a mandolin player who thrives at putting mandolin into music you would not expect it to be in.
Yeah, it's a cool, fun instrument, and the piece we're putting it in is it's kind of traditional in a sense. It's called Love Lies, so it starts out kind of acoustic, and I can only describe the song as if like maybe Led Zeppelin and Anthrax had a baby and then asked Leonard Skinner to babysit. So
that's incredible. With a mandolin, like that's not so.
Yeah, like Led Zeppelin 3-ish kind of thing there, and it has a lot of country licks in it, which was fun for me to play country licks and stuff like that. So we like to, expand and try different things and, go off the beaten path.
So this band has been around for a while, like decades and decades. So it's called Boston's Final Raid. I got to hear the genesis behind the name of the band first of all.
Everyone always asks that. It's kind of funny. It was named by me and the original bass player Lem Pond, my best friend since birth. And every time we came up with a name for a band, it was taken every single time. So we came up with the name Raid, and then we were thinking Ear Raid, like, all right, then maybe Ear Raid, like, raiding someone's ear. And then finally, we said, why don't we just throw two random letters in front of it, like REO Speedwagon? So we randomly picked B and F.
Huh.
And that originally meant bloody F word ing raid.
Ah.
Because we were like 16, 17, right? So, want that metal thing going on. And then we started to get airplay, we started to get gigs, and we said, well, that won't play on the radio, will it? So we changed it to Boston's Final Raid, which really means nothing. Um, but weirdly, people thought the name was Be Afraid, to like be scared, be afraid of the band. And it was never the intention. We just like pulled two letters out of the air and it worked. And it's 40 years later and people still love the name.
I love that, man. So essentially, the name of the band is really Be Afraid, and then you guys can just kind of interchange the words however you want.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So one thing you wanted to talk about was your songwriting approach, and I definitely am interested in that too because like genre wise and musically, and stylistically wise, you guys are kind of all over the place when it comes to music, and we talked about that a little bit with the mandolin. Talk about kind of the basis of the songwriting for the band and why it might be a little different than normal.
Yeah. Most of the writing starts with me. Billy, our singer, he writes a bit too. And we have a philosophy that it's like building a house. So I show up to practice with the plans to the house, and then people help with after the foundation's built, the walls and the furnishings. And Billy's usually the last one through after myself, Jamie, and Moose work on the instrumentation. And he's phenomenal at what I call putting on those finishing touches, little hits, rhythmic things. And it's cool because Bill plays piano, guitar, bass, drums, all very well. Jamie plays bass. Our drummer plays bass and guitar. Our bass player plays guitar very well, piano. I play almost everything but the drums. So we can interchange ideas. So when we're writing these songs, some of the key things are one, musically, if we write a riff, we instantly change it. We'll take that riff and we'll change the end. We'll twist it. We'll manipulate it because we want to be really sure that it doesn't sound like something that was written before.
Right.
We also use a lot of Asian scales. We use a lot of Hindu scales when we're building the music. There's a song on the new album that's called What You Crave, and it's totally written around a Hindu raga scale. But if you listen to it, people would say, wow, this sounds influenced by Black Sabbath. They would definitely say Sabbath. And it's like, no, it's actually influenced by Ravi Shankar, but
yeah,
you get what you get. So the music pulls from jazz, it pulls from Hindu music everywhere. But, all the amps are cranked. So it has that heavy metal feel, And then lyrically, we don't want to be like a Tenacious D type of band, singing about wizards and mystical things. And it's just not our groove. So, nothing wrong with that. That's what someone loves to write about. Just do what you love, but that's not us. And we write about our experiences and where we've been. And, we love the classic songwriters, the Carole Kings of the world, the Bernie Taupins of the world, even the Bruce Springsteens of the world. And like John Mellencamp is a great American storyteller.
Yeah.
I mean, people hear Jack and Diane, but they need to dive in deep to the guy's catalog. There's some beautiful stories in there. And we like to do the same thing. So when you listen to our songs, you'll get that hooky metal hook, maybe in the chorus somewhere. But when you listen to the lyrics, we always have a story there. There's always a beginning and an end. And
that's interesting when it comes to metal, right? Because that's not typical.
No, it really isn't. And there's a tug of war there. Our lead singer is an English major.
Okay.
And I'm a marketing major. We're two different worlds, right? So I write some lyrics. I'll stop making up words and things of that nature. And Bill will go, wait a minute, that's not a word. And I'm like, was cuckoo a word, Bill? Come on, give me a break here.
Right.
So, but it's great because sometimes he will stop me and say, okay, wait, what tense do you want this in? What voice? And Bill's really good at helping me craft that message. So, I bring the lyrics to practice. Me and Bill work on them together. not just the lyrical content, but the meter. And I must say, every once in a while, I'll write something. It might rub someone the wrong way. I take total responsibility. That's not the rest of the band. Because we do touch on some subjects that people would think are controversial.
Oh, come on, it
And
wouldn't be metal otherwise. Come on.
yeah, it's funny though, because they're really not, but they are, but they're not. You know, we don't have anything that's too wild. The two songs on the album, Angel and Victim, I mean, I wrote those when I was 17 years old, and those were like, let's go meet some girls and kind of party kind of songs.
Yeah.
And then we evolved, and I wrote Within the Wine, which is about fighting social anxiety with alcohol.
Yeah, we played that at the beginning of the show tonight to lead us in.
Yeah, and yeah, I was 18, playing in a band and playing with alcohol, and even then I was like, am I losing my identity? Am I the same guy when I'm drinking? But I could talk to girls, I could play guitar loud, and it was fun. So the song's about that conflict that I was having even back then. But on this album, Combat Zone, which you being from Boston know where we named this the album after.
Yep.
So the new album's Combat Zone, and there's 3 songs on the album that are Within the Wine, Part 2, 3, and 4. So Part 2 is called Dive Bar All Stars, and it's just about the characters that we met in dive bars around Boston.
Yeah.
And how every dive bar you go into, there's going to be the same people there. There's going to be that old timer. There's going to be the barfly. There'll be a bookie in the corner taking bets. And you could probably take me into a dive bar down in Texas. I've been in dive bars in Texas, actually. But yeah, it's the same people in every dive bar.
It is, truly.
Yeah, so you look at a song like Dive Bar All Stars, and most people would say, is that like a country song? The vibe and feel, it's got that Americana thing, but it's a loud one. It's very loud. The second one is called Love Lies, and it's a love song about getting your heart broken, but it's about getting your heart broken by alcohol.
Yep.
Just laying there in bed feeling horrible, and just those mornings where you say, I'll never do this ever again in my life. And so, it sounds like a love song, but it's actually a love song to alcohol. And if people listen to it, they'll think it's about a woman. It's not. It's written in the way that you would think so. And then
well, it's open to interpretation, right? Which is what a good song is supposed to be.
Yeah, and that's what we want. It's if you listen to our music, on the surface, you're going to hear something. Within the Wine, you might even think it's like a party song, like, hey, let's go drink some wine. It's like, no, this kid is tortured.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Lord, can I live within the wine? Same thing with Love Lies. It seems like, oh, a woman broke this guy's heart, and that's not it. And then the fourth part of Within the Wine that we'll be doing is called The Day I Killed Brian Scott. And we just started working on that. And it's got a really weird interlude, like out there, spacey, really trippy, kind of swirly, it's different. And that is actually about killing that inner child and growing up, and learning to be responsible and maybe have a glass of wine with dinner instead of banging down a fifth of Jack Daniels before practice. So it's about killing the inner child and putting that person away. So
how many songs is the new record going to have on it?
If our singer's watching me say this, he's shuddering. We're going to be doing 10.
Okay.
And everyone's already said never again. So the next one will probably be like 4 songs. We're going to release really quick EPs after that. But it's funny. I wrote a song I love just the other day called Flesh Wounds. And it's not going to make the album. And the guys looked at me and they were like, all at once, like, no. It's like, I know we can't do 11 songs, but to like
It,
save it, and I'm like,
it's
it's a
tough to
great song.
choose, isn't it? It truly is.
Well, that's how Becky came along. We were in the studio, and it was a nightmare. We got an engineer that said he knew what he was doing, and it would just, everything fell apart. And our first recording session, we got nothing done, and we had to wait another 3 months to find a decent engineer and to book time. And during that time off, I wrote Becky, and Bill was like, "No, we're not doing another song." And then he heard Becky, and he's like, "Yeah, we're doing that song." So everyone's like, "I don't even want to hear Flesh Wounds," you know. So
Yeah, save it for the next one, no matter how good it is, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about Bruce's pick of the week. As you guys may know that have been following us, we have a special guest every single Tuesday, but they also get to feature a song from an artist other than themselves that either means something to them or is a song they really want to feature. And Bruce has chosen Amy by Elton John, which I find very interesting because this is not exactly a huge hit for Elton. So why did you pick this one, Bruce?
It's probably one of my favorite Elton John songs of all time. I probably first heard the album when it first came out. And of course, everyone was into Rocket Man, and Amy talked about James Dean. It talked about street fights. It talked about love. It talked about women. It's a very cool song. And also, Jean-Luc Ponty plays the most smoking violin solo on this song.
Yeah.
And as a young kid, I'm like, well, I've never heard anyone do that on a violin. And who's Jean-Luc Ponty? And I, you know, had to investigate him, which took me down a path to listening to fusion and jazz. So you would not think that Elton John would be the one that would lead you on the path to Herbie Hancock and
Yeah.
Miles Davis, but there it is. And I've always loved the song. And it's funny, we were just talking about Becky. Becky is heavily influenced by the song Amy. So when I first heard Amy, I mean, it's powerful. He sings, "I'm beating on the streets because I love you. I watch you go to work in the summer." And to a 12-year-old kid, you're like, wow, that's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
And then when you turn 18 and you find yourself growing up in probably one of the most really, I would say, polarizing times in Boston during the busing era, which you're familiar with,
Absolutely.
and being a black guy and dating girls in Charlestown and Southie and Dorchester and Chinatown in the North End was not a place for me to be at night at
No,
all.
I know.
And I've got my tires slashed, I've been chased, I've been beat up, gotten into fights, and Becky's all about that. So it's like a version of Amy, but a Boston grittier one. It was definitely influenced by Bernie Taupin in a lot of ways, as a lot of our lyrics are. And it's not a rip of the song. It's I was inspired by the song and wanted to tell my story the way Bernie told his. There are some really, it's radio friendly, but I've hidden so many curse words in Becky and horrible, horrible terms in that song that if you went digging, and I had one friend that was able to name them all. He was like, "Whoa, this is hardcore." So if someone has a pretty bad vocabulary,
I'm gonna have to listen now. You got me interested.
yeah, I don't say the words, but they're inferred. They're definitely inferred, and there's slurs that a black person might hear from a white person, and then of course the title of the song "Becky" is a derogatory term that black women might call a white woman, right?
Yep.
So the song kind of shows that on both sides we're both wrong. We have just, we both can be horrible, both sides, and that's why I love the song. Has that kind of pull. And we both can be great, and in those neighborhoods, I met a lot of people. I have a lot of friends in Dorchester now. I have a lot of friends from the North End, Chinatown, that didn't chase me out of the neighborhood. So there's, I don't want people watching this to think Boston is this horrible place. if it was, I wouldn't live here anymore. But
It is a
that
tough
was,
place, though, man. You're right. It's not horrible in the sense that not everybody is like that, right? But
yeah.
I mean, it is. I mean, it's been a lot of years since I lived there, but when I did, it was very territorial even then,
Yeah.
right? And for me personally, as a white guy, right, the opposite of you,
Hmm.
um, I was very lucky in that I was tall. I'm 6'4". I could play
Yeah.
some basketball, and because of that, I was allowed into neighborhoods that I ordinarily would be shot at if I was in. You know, just because I could put a basketball in a hoop. So,
Oh yeah.
um, you know, that's the way it was when I was a kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
when
I'm
I was a kid too, in those neighborhoods where you would be shot at, or where all my cousins lived, and I played kickball and ran up and down the streets with them, right?
mhm.
And yeah, I mean the neighborhoods in Boston are beautiful, and they've gotten better, much better in a lot of ways. It's not too many areas where I'd be afraid to walk at night now, even Southie or Charlestown. But yeah, back then it was just the tempers were flaring, and
Yeah,
it
you couldn't
was
do it. Like I remember, being 14, 15 years old and getting on the T in Brockton when they finally put a T, in Brockton. We didn't have trains in Brockton when I was real little, but about my teenage years, that's when they put them in. And I would just tell my mom and dad I was going to my friend's house, and when I'm actually clubbing and in Boston, get on the T. And I mean, you just never know what neighborhood you're getting off at. You know what I mean?
yeah. You have to be good at that. I have a
Yeah.
friend. I have a friend that fell asleep on the tee. Um, One of my old drummers, white guy, really cool guy, and he fell asleep and woke up in Forest Hills, and
Oh
the conductor
God,
woke him up.
dang.
He said, "This is the last stop. You have to get off." And
No, I'm not getting off.
he saw the sign, and he's like, "There's no way I'm getting off this train."
Absolutely not.
And the guy looked at him. He goes, "Yeah, you're not getting off this train."
Nope.
And thankfully for him, the park the trains at Wellington, so they took him back to the area where he'd be a little bit
He
safer. And
got lucky. He
yeah,
got real lucky. Oh man, we got Bruce Owens from BF Raid, Boston's Final Raid, for the first time on the show, and the song we're featuring from Boston's Final Raid tonight is called "Hollywood with Snakes." Tell us a little bit about this song before we play it, Bruce.
yeah, it's the backdrop is Hollywood, but it's really about the abuse of women globally, right? So I was really thinking about how nothing's really changed. And even in America, in some pockets and cultures, women are just forced to do things they don't want to do. They have to marry guys they don't want to marry because of family pressure, or stay within the little clique, or what have you. And the pressures to get at jobs, the pressures to get at men from men, and the fact that they can't even walk down the street safe in at night by themselves sometimes, right? And it really aggravated me, that they don't have the same freedom that men have. And I started to think how far back it went, and how even though these women that were very powerful in Hollywood were, just held down by these movie heads and these studio heads. And Weinstein was, going on at the same time. And it was just, an issue that made my blood boil. So that's when I write. I write when I'm angry. You'll notice that there's no happy BF Raid songs. And you can see I'm a happy guy, but I cannot write when I'm happy. It's if I'm happy, I just go off and I'm happy. It's when something's bothering me, I'm troubled, I'm angry. That's when I want to take that energy and put it into a song.
Yeah, your
So
music's your outlet, man. I get that. Yeah.
you'll never get anything like I'm walking on sunshine from Be Afraid. It's not gonna. I'd love to do it. I've tried to write happy songs. It's actually hilarious to watch me feel. I just can't do it. But so yeah, Hollywood with Snakes is yet again another angry Be Afraid Bruce Owens song, and just anger at Hollywood, but anger at people that just really just don't realize that they're just not treating women the way they should be treated.
Well, I appreciate you coming on the show and sharing the music with us. And again, it's Combat Zone. When do we think that's going to be out, Bruce?
Ooh, so we are hoping there's a whole bunch of stuff going on in the band, personal stuff. So we're hoping to get into the studio late October, early November.
So you're looking at next year sometime then, huh?
Yeah, I think a December release or early January release should be it, but it's pretty much already written. There's a couple of songs that I still have to go over with Bill, and I'll do that probably Saturday. So we kind of we practice when we can. So Jamie and I, the drummer and I, practice every weekend. Matt's there almost every weekend. He's usually there every weekend, and then Billy does every other weekend with us. So we get different work done at different times. And our drummer Jamie, he's like my rock and Gibraltar, because when I'm first working on a song, I can go in the studio with him, work on the rhythms, work on the beats, and see if what I have in my head, in my hands, translates.
Mm-hmm.
And then Matt comes in, he adds his flourishes, and then Billy comes in and you know finishes off the song. So, like I said, it's a process where we're all building together. And sometimes when I write a song, it's exactly what I heard in my head. And sometimes when I hear it in the studio, it's 1,000 miles away from what I originally wrote,
Mm-hmm.
because everyone's adding so many different pieces and changing it as it moves along. And that's beautiful. It's
Yep.
great.
I was going to say that's a great thing. Yeah, that's definitely a
Yeah.
great thing. But yeah, we appreciate Bruce being here. The website is bfraid.com. Go on there until the new record is out. You can check out the EP that came out, I believe, last year. It's called Rated Again,
Yep.
which is available on all major streaming platforms. And you can go right to the website and click to listen there as well. Bruce, thank you so much for coming on tonight,
Thank you
man.
for having me, Chris. And stay in touch, and we'll let you know how things unfold with the album.
Absolutely, man. I would appreciate that. You have a good night. We're going to get into the music.
All right. Thank you. Take
All right,
care.
man. You take care. We are going to get into the music. I want to thank Bruce Owens again with Boston's Final Raid for episode 31 of Tunesday Tuesday. Again, I want to let you know, if you're watching on Spotify or YouTube and you're just seeing the interview portion of this, you can click the link in the description below for a full recap of the entire show, which will include all the music, all the stories, and kind of synopsis of each of the artists tonight.